I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, the place where y'all come for motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and overall positive message. I'm your host, DJ, and today's episode was inspired by a video that I seen on TikTok. And I keep saying I'm gonna do a better job at remembering these people's names. I got to start writing them down when I see them. But he said something along the lines of the magic that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. And when I tell you that video hit me so hard because I can relate to it, as y'all know, I've been going to therapy for over the past year. I think June this year made a year. So over the past year, I've been going to therapy, and there have been so many things that I've been trying to avoid and not talk about. And it's like once we started, especially well in the beginning, there were things that I just wasn't trying to talk about. One of those things being my father. That was one of the main things that I just did not want to talk about. I did not want to touch because in my mind, it was this hate, or what I thought was hate, what I thought was just this frustration with him for not being there and all of this stuff. And as we started to unpack it, I started to realize that, hey, I was blaming him for stuff that he wasn't even there for. I was blaming him for stuff that he couldn't have even been a part of doing, like, did his absence play a role in how I looked at things and how I felt? But yes, of course it did. But I realized that I was blaming him for stuff that, had nothing to do with him. But in talking about it and in having real conversations with my therapist and with myself about it, it's freed me up. It's freed up a lot of energy that I was holding on to in the shape of anger and frustration towards him, and there was just so many emotions that started to unlock as we started to dig into, what I felt and what I thought about, as far as him. But I say all of that to say that message was so on point, because we run from the things that we don't want to deal with, the things that we don't talk about, the things that that we may have done or may have been done to us. And we just think that if we hide it and we bury it deep enough, that it won't bother us, or just because it's not the first thing on our mind when we wake up and the last thing on our mind before we go to sleep, that we're over it and we don't have to do it. But what we don't realize is that those things sneak up and they appear in different parts of our lives in different ways, and we don't understand why. We don't understand why we're so angry about this. We don't understand why we're so stubborn or hard-headed about that. We don't understand why we give so much pushback and why we have so much frustration and anger about this and about that. And it's because, and we want it to stop. We want to do better. We want to let go of the anger. We want to let go of all of this frustration. We want to let go of all these negative emotions, but we never wanted to tackle the things that we went through, the things that happened. We don't want to touch those sensitive subjects, but we also don't realize that it doesn't get better until we do. We don't realize that all of that anger and all that frustration and those negative emotions are tied to something. And until we unbury, until, what I'm saying, we dig up all of that dirt that we buried on top of those things, and we really start to discuss them and we start to tackle those issues, we're not going to get anywhere. That quote unquote magic that we want, that miracle, a lot of it is in the work that we're avoiding, and we put so much energy into avoiding that we don't realize that we're not getting any better. We're not healing. We're not doing the things that we need. We can't move forward. What I'm saying? Our body is still stuck in this survival mode because we're not taking care of the things that we need to take care. We're not dealing with them. We're not, and if we do, we want to do like surface level. We don't really want to dig in deep into, our past. And, I know like one of the things for me, another thing that I didn't really want to touch that came off of dealing with my father was, okay, I had to realize, okay, I'm putting way too much blame on my father who wasn't there. And then the next lesson was, now that means that I have to also shift some of that blame towards my mom. And, coming from a single parent household for a lot of my childhood, mom is your hero. Mom is the one who did everything, so so now you got to face the reality of mom, who could do no wrong, really, did the wrong. And mind you, she did the best that she could. She was in a tough situation trying to raise, kids by herself. So she was in an impossible situation trying to do a job by herself that was meant to be done by two people. So she did the best that she could, but she had some missteps. And a part of me taking away, understanding that some of this blame cannot, not all of the blame cannot land at my father's feet, meant that I had to be honest about the fact that some of the blame has to now land at my mom's feet. And so that opened up a whole new can of worms and things. And so it was so resistant. I was so resistant. So I remember even my therapist was just kind of like, I can see it on your face. Like, we know mom, mom is everything. Mom has been good. Mom has done everything that she possibly could. Mom worked 2, 3 jobs. Mom did all of these things. But it's okay to say, there were things that, mom did wrong. There was some missteps. It was, what I'm saying, but it's expected. But it's okay that she did. But you have to be willing to put that out there. You got to give that, what I'm saying, you got to assign that blame somewhere. And so what I had been doing for most of my life is just putting everything on my dad, everything that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's like, you don't want to blame mom. Mom's here. Mom's putting in the work. Mom's trying, whereas he wasn't there. So it was just easy to do that. That was the easy thing to do, was just to hate him and to pile on, instead of addressing the issue, which was, sometimes it was mom who was doing that. So, and so that kind of messed me up too. Like, not only is the person who's been the villain in my story, that with the way I've been narrating it in my head, he's been the villain. And it's like, okay, he's not as much of a villain as I originally thought. And now I also, on top of that, I have to now put some blame on the person who's been the hero in my story, again, the way that I've been narrating it in my head. So it was just like, it messed me up on two folds. Um having to having to deal with that. But I've been able to unpack those things with my mom and with my dad. I've been able to unpack those. Unfortunately, my dad wasn't alive now that since I've been going to therapy. He passed away, I think, like maybe a year before I started therapy. So I didn't get a chance to actually talk with him, but I have gotten a chance to talk with my mom, and luckily she's also been going to therapy. So there's things that she's kind of had to grapple with, as far as, how we were raised, how she was raised by her parents, and then also how she raised us. And so it made it easier for us to come together and have conversations, because she understands it from her point of view, because she's dealing with things, that went on with how her parents raised her. And then she's also understanding that because she was raised a certain way, that affected how she raised us. And so it made the conversation a lot smoother, to be able, because she was willing to receive, you know, um, how I was feeling, without feeling attacked, or without internalizing it. So, that helped me to be able to unpack a lot of things with that. And again, it's helped me grow so much. It's helped me to, be confident and comfortable enough with myself to have a conversation like with my ex, to when I can to where I can say, "Hey, I did not know what it was like to be a man. I don't know what it means to be a man. I don't know what it means to lead, especially from an emotional and a mental standpoint, because I didn't know what it meant to create space and to have capacity, especially on an emotional level for your partner, because I didn't see those things growing up. Everything that I saw was transactional. I didn't see that type of love that you just give someone just off to the strength of loving them. And even if you don't get anything in return, who cares? I'm doing this for someone that I love. I didn't see a lot of that growing up. So I did not understand it. I understood transactions. I understood, okay, I'm doing this. So I expect this in return. Or, okay, you gave me this. Now I'm going to give you this. So that's another reason why I don't like, or I'm not very good with accepting gifts, because I feel something in my body, something in my nervous system, tells me, okay, now I got to do something, because they're going to expect something back in return, because I've grown up with the mindset, somebody gives you something because they expect something in return. And I didn't really grow up too much with the concept of you give just because you want to give. You give because you have it to give. You give not expecting anything in return. So I did not understand that concept, you know what I'm saying, growing up, because I didn't see it. I understood transactions. I understood, yes, I'm giving you something because I expect this in return. Okay, you're giving me this. I know that you're going to at some point ask for this in return. I understood transactions. I didn't understand um just loving someone, just to love them, or even when it's hard to love them, loving them through those hard times, when they're going through something. It's just they're making it very hard to love them, because they may not even know what they're going through, but loving them through all of that, I did not see that growing up. So I did not understand how to do that. But tackling everything with my father helped me to realize that it's okay to admit that. It's okay that I didn't have my dad around, so I did not know how to do that. And it's okay to say, hey, I don't know. But, it doesn't take away from who I am. It doesn't strip me down. It doesn't now diminish everything that I've done up to this point, to be honest and say, hey, I didn't know how to create space for my partner emotionally, because I didn't see it on both sides. I didn't see obviously I didn't see it from my dad, because my dad wasn't there, and I really didn't see it from I didn't really see it from my mom, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like I seen, like I said, transactions. But again, I was able to get to a point to where I could be honest with myself, and I could be okay, to where I'm even getting in front of a camera and getting ready to post to the world, hey, I didn't know how to lead a household as a man, as a 30, now 36, as my birthday just passed, now a 36-year-old man, but at the time 33, 32, 33, in a relationship, not knowing how to lead, not knowing how to um be a solid foundation, a solid rock for my partner, especially emotionally. I understood how to do it financially. I understood how to do it physically, from the standpoint of protecting her, and, what I'm saying, making sure that when we go somewhere, she feels safe. She feels like nobody's going to be able to do something to her. I understood it from those standpoints, but from an emotional standpoint, making her feel safe emotionally and mentally, I didn't understand that. I did not know how to do that. And I also didn't know how to admit that, you know what I'm saying, because it was like, once I finally realized that, it did kind of mess me up for a little while. But then again, in therapy, and you're breaking everything down, you get to that realization that it's not all my fault, that I didn't know because I didn't see it. But now that I'm older and I'm an adult, I can't rest on the fact that, okay, I didn't see it. At some point, I got to do the work to get to where I need to be, because now I know that I'm not where I need to be. I can blame, I can put some accountability on my father not being there. I can put some accountability on the fact that I didn't, there was no positive male role model showing me how to support your partner, or just be there emotionally and mentally for people. But now I'm older, Now I can control my life. Now I can surround myself with people who do know how to do that. I can go ask for help. So now I have to take accountability for the things that I'm doing. Now I have to go do the work to make sure I can show up for people the way I need to show up for them. That's now my responsibility. Now I have to do that. I have to hold myself accountable. So that means that I have to go do the work to make sure I can do that. So when I saw that message, like when I tell y'all, it sparked something in me because I think that it's so true. I think that we avoid the painful stuff because nobody wants to relive the pain. Nobody wants to go through the mental, emotional, physical pain and trauma that they was experiencing at that time. But we have to unlock it, to finally to let go of that anger and that frustration that we had in that moment. As some, we got to do something. We can't just keep doing the same things that we're doing but expecting a different result. We can't keep moving through life the way that we're moving, but expect things to get better, expect our anger to just magically go away, expect our frustration to magically go away, to expect our capacity to handle certain things to just magically get higher. We got to start working through these things, and we got to start dealing with, the things that we need to deal with that have affected who we are and how we are, and who that have helped to mold us into the people that we are and shape how we react to certain things. We got to start tackling those things. And I think that the longer you wait, the harder it becomes because we learn how to make it look like we can function in dysfunction, or we learn how to function in dysfunction, so much so that we think that the dysfunction is functional, or we think that the chaos is normal, that it's regular, because we learning how to survive. We've been in survival mode so long that we don't know how to not live in survival mode. We don't trust anything that doesn't look and feel like survival mode. So because we've been living in chaos and we've seen chaos for so long, that when we find somebody who isn't chaotic, we think something's wrong with them, or we think, this can't be real. We can't trust this, or you're waiting for that other shoe to drop because it's like you're so used to all of that, that there's no way that somebody can come in with their stuff together, being able to trust them, being able to rely on them, because you've experienced that people, you just can't trust people, you can't rely on people, you can't, or you just have those 1 2 people that you can rely on, and then that's it. So when people come in trying to help ease the chaos, we don't know how to handle that, because it doesn't make sense to us because we feel like the chaos is normal. So when we meet somebody who's not chaotic, we don't know how to trust that. We don't know what that is. That's such a foreign concept. We don't know how to handle that. We don't know what that is or what that means. And I think that everybody should go through therapy. I really do believe that. I really do believe that therapy can help everybody. Well, if they're open to it and open to really trying therapy and giving therapy a real shot, I think that therapy can help any and everybody, as long as they're willing to really put the work in, because therapy is not easy. Therapy is going to put a mirror up in front of you, and you're going to see sides of yourself that you didn't want to see, sides of yourself that you didn't think existed, and sides of yourself that you've made excuses for. And depending on the therapist, you have your therapist who are going to be nice about it and slow rolling, and then you got your therapist who just, in your face, not in like a disrespectful way, but just putting that mirror up to you and being like, nah, this is you. You know what I'm saying, and just showing you what you've caused. And I think that it's kind of hard to look at that. It's kind of hard to look at the damage that you've caused, the damage that you burying these problems, or you pushing these problems away, or you sitting here trying to be like myself, you trying to be strong and act like everything's okay when it's not. And then when you get to that point where you have no more fakeness in you, and now it's just getting ready to come out, all that anger and all that frustration that you've just been pushing down, and now there's nowhere else to put it. So now it's got to come out, and now you're erupting on, and you're spazzing on the people who've been there, the people who care for you, the people who love you because they're the closest to you, and so you're just going off on any and everybody who's within reach. Again, from personal experience, I've been there where I'm sitting here saying, nope, everything's good. Everything's good. There's no problem. No, I got it. Everything. And it's not okay. But I didn't know how to say that I was okay again, because part of it was because that's what I saw my mom do. I saw my mom, things aren't okay, but she would tell us that it's okay because she thought she was protecting us. And maybe she was. I honestly don't know, but what I saw was that's how you handle it as an adult. That's how you handle your problems. That's how you handle your issues. Is you go in your room in a corner in the dark by yourself, and you know what I'm saying, you do whatever, you cry, and then when you come out, you put your mask on and you present this, I'm okay, I'm good, everything's happy and happy go lucky, you put that mask on. And so that's how I lived most of my life, hurting on the inside, but I'm gonna put the mask on when it's time to get into character. I'm gonna put the mask on, and I'm gonna do, what I'm supposed to do. And it was it's been exhausting, living like that. But again, because you get so used to doing it that becomes your new norm, and you don't worry about anything else. You That's just the norm. You think that everybody's going through this, everybody's going through something. So what right do I have to complain? You got people getting kicked out of their homes. You got people losing jobs left and right. You got people got this and that going on. What right do I have to complain? But in truth, you have every right. Your feelings matter. The things that you go through matter. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they may not be as big as someone else's, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the right and don't have the space to talk about those things and go through, your emotions of what's going on. All of those things are fair. It's fair for you to feel whatever you're feeling because you're going through it. And yes, somebody else might be going through something way tougher than what you're going through, or way more complicated, or more at stake, whatever the case may be. But that does not mean that whatever you're going through doesn't matter. And that's where I messed up, because I assumed that because my stuff wasn't as big as somebody else's stuff, that it didn't matter. But again, going back to the point of the video, I've worked on that. I've worked on being able to tell people that, hey, I'm not okay, or hey, today was a tough day, or even with everything that I've been going through with this job, I come on here all the time like, man, I'm going through some things at the job, and that wasn't always an easy thing to do. It's easy to get on here, put a smile on, everything good, everything's perfect, life is great, da 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 da, but on the inside, bro, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of at my wit's end about certain things, but I've worked on that. I've worked on um, learning how to, like I said earlier, learning how to accept gifts without someone expecting me to give something in return. Just, somebody just saying, hey, thank you for being a good friend and just giving me something and not asking for anything in return. I'm learning how to accept those things. I'm learning how to celebrate my small wins, my small victories, the things that any accomplishment, any achievement that I get. I'm learning how to accept those things. Those things they're hard for me because I used to be a very big picture, end goal, finish line, can't celebrate till hit the finish line type of person. And I also realized because I was like that, it made my journey a lot harder because I wasn't celebrating those small things. I wasn't taking the time to be like, man, yes, I still got a long way to go, but I'd finished this. I did this. I took this step. I made it to this point. Let me celebrate that. So everything felt like a long process because I wasn't taking breaks here and there to just celebrate whatever the milestone was. So I'm learning how to do that. So it's for an example with that, with my weight loss, I don't really have a end goal number, but every 10 pounds, every time I can get like a breakthrough, I'm celebrating those things. I'm celebrating getting to this. I'm celebrating getting to that because I understand that this is not just, this is a lifestyle change for me. So every accomplishment, no matter how big or how small, I take the time to just celebrate it because I know that it's a step in the right direction. And if I don't take the time to acknowledge it, this journey can become long. It can become way longer. It can start to feel way longer than it should. Like it should be a celebration when you do something. I don't care if it's you made it through your first year of college, your first semester of college, you whatever you made it through your first day of school, your first day of work, whatever. Celebrate those things, man, because those things matter, especially if it matters to you. Celebrate those things. Nobody else has to understand, nobody else has to get it, but if it makes sense to you to celebrate that thing, whatever it may be. But in order for us to get to these points, in order for me to get to the point that I'm in right now, I had to do the work, and I had to touch on sensitive subjects, and I had to talk about things that I didn't want to talk about. I had to bring up things that I didn't want to bring up, and it brought out a lot of frustration and it brought out a lot of anger, and I was mad at myself, and I was mad at people around me, and I was mad at my therapist for making me talk about it. But I can look back on it now and I can be appreciative because it's making me a better person to speak. When I speak on it, it's making me develop the emotional maturity that I need to have conversations with people, to be able to have conversations with people who have hurt me and people who I've hurt, to get me to a point to where when things start to happen now, I handle things a lot better than I used to because I've started to work through things and I've started to talk about things and I've started to understand, okay, this is why I felt this way. This is the trick. This is a trigger for me. So when things start to happen and now I can catch myself when I'm feeling triggered, I can reel myself back in and I can remove myself from that situation and I can speak on things in a healthier way where it's not just all anger all the time. I know how to articulate my emotions a lot better. I know how to say, hey, that hurt me instead of everything coming out as anger. Things can come out as, hey, I was just hurt. What you said hurt me. And I know, especially as men, that it isn't an easy thing to do. So especially in my last relationship, everything came out as anger, but some of it was just me being hurt. My feelings were hurt. Something that you did hurt me, but I didn't know how to say that because I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I didn't know how to be soft because that space wasn't created. A safe space wasn't created for me to feel that way, and that's something else. You know what I'm saying? Like for the men, it's not just about you creating a safe space for your lady, for your woman, but also you need a safe space created for you to be able to be vulnerable. And I get it that there are some men who feel like you shouldn't be vulnerable and and you'll never trust, and you feel how you want to feel, but I want somebody that I can be vulnerable with, not just relationship wise, but with my team, with the people that I have around me. I want to be able to be vulnerable with them. I want to have people around me that I trust enough to be vulnerable with, because as I get older and I go through so much and I talk about so much, I start to realize how important that is, to have people around that you trust enough to be vulnerable with, that is huge. It was something that I would have never thought about when I was younger, but it's something that means so much to me now. Like but people having people around me that I can be honest with them about things that they do and how it makes me feel, and they can be honest with me about the things that I do and how it makes them feel. Those things are important to me, and just having people again that I trust enough to be open, honest, and vulnerable with, those are huge things for me. And so those are things that I work hard. These are the type of relationships that I'm working hard to try to cultivate, with the people around me. But I say all of that just to say, don't run from that work. Whatever it is that you need to be tackling, whatever it is that you need to be talking about, whatever issues you're having, stop running from those problems, stop running from those issues, and start doing the work that you need to do, because you never know what type of magic is going to come from that work. You never know what type of blessing, how beautiful life may be, what type of um insight you may gain from doing this work, this stuff that you running from. And and I get a lot of us are running desperately from these things, and we're getting the same results that we've been getting. But what happens if you just turn around and you face those problems? And I get it. You may not be able to do it by yourself. Find those people that can help you. And if it's a therapist, great. If it's friends who are very understanding and can kind of go with you on this ride, cool. I would tell you to get you a therapist who can help you navigate these things, because it's going to bring out a lot of emotion. It's going to bring out a lot of things. So I would tell you to get a licensed professional who can help you with that. But to each his own. But start tackling those things. Start doing that work that you need to do in those areas. That you need to do them in them areas that you're running from, that you're avoiding, that you go out of your way. You will make your life so much harder than it has to be, because you're trying to avoid that certain thing, those certain conversations and things like that. Start doing that work, because I'm telling y'all, there's so many beautiful things on the other side of that work. But that's it for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for listening on whatever platforms y'all are listening on. I appreciate the love. And to everybody watching on YouTube, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I appreciate the love that y'all give me on YouTube as well. And until the next time we meet, y'all already know, y'all stay blessed.